Welcome to this special bonus episode of the Story Nerd podcast. I'm Valerie Francis. I'm a writer and literary editor, and I focus on stories by, for, and about women. Nanowrimo kicks off tomorrow, and if you want to make it to the end with a win, you're going to need a regular writing habit. Even if you're not doing Nanowrimo, if you want to finish the project that you're working on, whether it's your novel or your screenplay, you're also going to need a regular writing habit. Now, there's a lot that has been written about this, and some of the stuff I've heard, honestly, it is so convoluted that it turns me off. I'm just not going to do it if it's that complicated. And the truth is that it does not have to be hard. That's what we talk about here on the Story Nerd podcast. Story theory is not difficult. It is simple. And you know what? Developing a regular writing habit and a regular writing routine is also not hard. It is simple. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. All right, so step one is making a committed decision that you're going to finish your book or your screenplay. Now, that sounds obvious. I know it does, but very few of us do it. Sure, we all want to finish our books, but for most of us, honestly, it just remains a dream. It's not something we're actively working on. Listen, I'm putting myself in this category too. We have a long list of excuses, and chief among them is that I don't have the time or the money to finish my book or my screenplay. You know what? That's bull. It really is, because we always have both the time and the money for the things we want badly enough. So if you're not writing regularly right now, ask yourself how badly you want it. And if you honestly do, deep down, long to finish your book, then ask yourself what you're willing to give up to get it, because you will have to give something up. Writing will have to become your priority. I was at brunch recently with a group of writer friends, and of the four of us, I was the only one actively working on my book. Two of the people there moaned about desperately wanting to finish their manuscripts, but they both claimed that they were so busy that they didn't have time. Now, you know me, I'm not going to let that just slide. I don't seem to be wired that way. And so I called BS on their comments immediately, because we had been in that restaurant at that point for 2 hours. It was going to be another hour before we finished. And I knew that both of them had about a 30-minute commute each way to the restaurant from their homes. So both of them on that Sunday found 4 hours in their busy schedules, and they do have busy schedules, but they found 4 hours to come and have brunch. They could have used that time to write. If finishing their novels was truly a priority for them, they would have given up the social activity of brunch with friends. And that is exactly what I told them. Now, to be fair, neither of them appreciated me pointing that out. But it's true. And here's the thing that we've got to remember. Every single day, something or someone is going to come along to distract us. Or we'll invent something to distract ourselves. Most of the time, we don't even notice that we're doing it. So we've got to be paying attention. And yes, there are times when the thing that comes up will genuinely need to be the priority over writing that day. You know, you might have to take your kid to the hospital or your pet to the vet. I've had to do that. Or your hot water tank could spring a leak, like mine just did. Or it could be a more chronic or long-term issue. I had eye surgery back in March, and this is now October 31st, and my eyes are still not where they should be. I'm still not able to spend as much time reading or as much time on a computer writing as I did before the surgery. There is always this stuff. Like, it is never ending. That's why there's no perfect time to start or perfect time to continue writing your book. That is why we've got to recommit to our decision every single day. We might have to do it multiple times throughout the day. I do. So once we've done that and we actually sit down to work, what do? Well, in my experience, there are 3 different ways to approach this. First, we can set a goal based on word count. So in other words, we could say, today I'm going to write 500 words. Now, this approach works for a whole lot of people, and it's a common approach that's recommended, in my experience, by people who have never actually written fiction. It doesn't work for me, though, for a couple of reasons. First, because sometimes on a really good writing day, I end up with fewer words than I started with. And if my goal is to write 500 new words a day, I just get cranky. And the second reason it doesn't work for me is because I have no problem producing 10,000 words a day. I have done it many times. I did it regularly before I knew it was some sort of special thing. I just did it. I mean, listen to how much I talk. I write the same way. The problem, though, with my writing is that the quality when I'm writing that volume is low. So I end up with pages and pages and pages and pages of stuff that I then have to sift through somehow. You know, for me, it's like counting calories to lose weight. It's not a winning strategy because it doesn't take into account nutrients or the impact of hormones like insulin on the body. In other words, for me, writing isn't a quantitative process, it's a qualitative process. So for me, I prefer one of the 2 methods I'm about to talk about now. So the second approach, the first one's writing by word count. The second one is writing by time. And this is a fantastic strategy for me when I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'll find a little pocket of time, usually just 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, but I find shorter is better. And I'll set a timer. And I'll write without editing myself until that timer goes off. And then I stop and I get up and I do something else. It's a bit different than writing sprints, although sprints are also based on time. So if those work for you, go for it. There are days when I'm really struggling that 30-minute block is the only writing that I get done in the day. And that's okay. I've had to be okay with that. Other days, I can repeat the 30-minute block 4 or 5 or even 6 times a day, which means over the course of the whole day, I punched in 2 to 3 hours of writing. I'm okay with that too. And the third strategy that I want to share with you is writing by task. And this works really well for me when I'm on deadline. For example, I might set myself the task of finishing a scene per day, which for me is lightning fast. That is very fast for me. If you're new to life as a writer, may I suggest that you get really comfortable with the idea of writing to deadline because it's your life now. You might still be working on the first draft of your book, and so you don't have an agent or an editor or a publisher breathing down your neck. And if you're going the indie route, you might not have put your book up for pre-order, so you don't have a deadline. If that's the case, try giving yourself one and create a consequence to not hitting that deadline. Or find an accountability partner. Melanie is mine. I am Melanie's. Or make a promise to yourself that you're going to finish your book or your screenplay by a certain date. Now listen, 2023 is not over yet. We've got 2 whole months left. If you made a committed decision, could you finish your book by December 31st? Seriously, think about that. Could you? How would it feel to finally have that monkey off your back? What is it worth to you to get it done? And is it worth more than, say, a 4-hour Sunday brunch? So whether you're doing Nanowrimo this year or not, I encourage you to make a committed decision to finish your novel or your screenplay. I've just given you 3 strategies for approaching the day's writing session. You could write by word count if that works for you. Awesome. You could write by time, or you could write by task. All right, now all you have to do is get moving. You've got this. I know you do. And because I have to now get back to my own writing, I'm going to wrap up this bonus episode of the Story Nerd Podcast. To support the show, please leave us a rating and review and tell your writer friends about us. For access to writing templates and worksheets and more than 70 hours of training, subscribe to my Inner Circle by visiting valeriefrancis.ca/innercircle and follow me on X, Instagram, and Threads at Valerie_Francis. And remember, story theory doesn't have to be difficult, and developing a writing habit doesn't have to be difficult either. These are tools to help you write more, not less. So take it one step at a time and have fun.